everyone, welcome back. I'm Di and today is the start of my October vlog. So I am a little bit done up. I just finished filming my manga haul for September, and so my mom made me a little crocheted witch's hat, and I am wearing my, it's just a bunch of Hocus Pocus shirt. And yeah, just getting into the season. I have started the Treatathon, which is a readathon that's happening through the entire month of October, and I am not doing too good. It is Saturday, October 2nd right now, and so I have started 2 books for that readathon. I have started Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, collected from Folklore and retold by Alvin Schwartz, drawings by Stephen Gammell. This one, even though it looks like I probably read it when I was growing up, I never read this one. I have had this since I was little. I'm not sure if my brother or my sister read it when we were growing up, but I didn't. I much preferred In a Dark, Dark Room, which is going to be coming up later. It is one that I have slated on my TBR. It is my favorite kind of Halloween short story collection, and I just continued to revisit that one and never read these. Even when the movie for this was coming out, I thought, oh, I should read those, and I still never did. So I found a copy of the audiobook on Hoopla. Surprisingly, it was under the banned books section. I had no idea that this book was banned, and I don't even know why it was banned. I presume it has something to do with some of the stories or maybe some of the artwork, because some of the artwork is creepy. Let me find one for you. Okay, look away now if you're squeamish, because let me tell you that when I had opened to this page and was trying to read the story, the illustration on the side really freaked me out. I had to cover the page so that I could continue reading because it was just unnerving. Okay, 3, 2, 1, here you go. Okay, I put it down in case you were looking away, but yeah, the stories themselves are not really scary per se. They would be to a kid who is the target audience for this book, but I find that the way that these are written are much more for like kids to, or for kids to be instructed on how to tell scary stories in the dark. So like there's instructions for them, like this one says, turn to one of your friends and scream, ah! Like, yeah, so I find that this book works much better for me on audio just because I'm not like able to focus on it. I should have been done with this in one sitting, but obviously I'm not. The audiobook that I borrowed from Hoopla is actually the collection of this one, the sequel, which is More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and the third one, which I'm not sure what it's called. Even More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark? I don't know. But I noticed that when I had been listening to it, that the stories on the audiobook are told out of order from how they are in this book. So when I had picked this one up to like read along while I was listening, it's not in order. And yeah, there was one that I had listened to that comes up later in here that's like more of a cautionary tale of like a real life like situation. It's not like supernatural in any way, whereas the first story in this one, which is called The Big Toe, does have like a supernatural spin on it. And so yeah, I'm enjoying visiting these, though I think I may have to just leave it to the audiobook. I'm not sure. I'm going to try again to pick this one up. But because I was having such a hard time focusing on the physical copy of this, I decided to go ahead and pick up my cover by selection for the bingo board. And that one was Bentley Little, The Haunted. If you watched my September vlog, you know that I had specifically gone to Barnes & Noble and tried to pick out a cover by book, and I came home with this one and a different one. But because the other one I had just recently seen on somebody else's channel, I decided to read this one for that prompt. So when I decided to read this one and go and log it into my Goodreads as currently reading, I realized I had put this book on my currently reading list in 2020. The one that I had put on the list, though, did not have this cover, and so that's probably why it didn't even sound or look familiar to me. And with books in general, especially things like this, but really in books in general, manga, anything I read, I don't like to know a lot going in. So that's why a lot of times things that I put on my to-read list on Goodreads stay there for a really, really long time, so that if I know anything about it, I don't remember anything that I knew about it. So all I had known when I had bought this one was that it was a haunted house story, and that was good enough for me. And so yeah, it ended up being one that I had on my radar, but I had just forgotten. I found out that the audiobook of this is available on Hoopla and the Audible Plus. I do have an Audible Plus subscription, and so I listened to a bit of this audiobook while I was putting my face on today, and I'm enjoying it so far. It's really interesting. Actually, this is how much I read last night before I went to sleep. But let me see if I can find where I am. So I am here now. So I'm about 95 pages in. Really enjoying it, though. Something that just happened where I stopped was kind of not something I expected to have in this book. I can't even really say because of spoilers, but yeah, this is a haunted house story. This family decides to pick up and move because the neighborhood that they were living in has kind of gone to ruin. There are a lot of people in the neighborhood who just are not people that the family feels safe around anymore, because the neighborhood has gone into ruin. In fact, at the beginning of this story, there are kids that are just blatantly using this family's driveway to skateboard on, and even when the father goes out to politely ask them to please leave their property, they flip him the finger, they swear at him, and so he goes and gets the garden hose and hoses them down. But that was kind of like the nail in the coffin that makes them decide to move. The younger son doesn't like the school that he's at because the district lines were changed, and so that meant that he had to go to a different school, and so all of his friends are not at the school he's at anymore, and I kind of get the feeling that he's having a hard time in school, but I don't know why. If it's just because he's not able to make more friends, or if there's a bullying issue going on or something like that. But in any case, they decide to move. They get this house, and already some suspicious things have been happening. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly is going on with this house. But yeah, like I said, something just happened in the story that I'm kind of disappointed with. I'm hoping those kind of storyline with what's going on is not going to get any bigger. But if it does and it becomes like the main kind of focus, I'm going to be very disappointed in the story. But so far, so good. I am enjoying this one. It's not creepy enough to keep me up at night so far. And yeah. So that's what I'm reading right now. And I thought I'd share with you a couple of books that I have received. I actually received these from my mom for my birthday in September, but I never shared them with you. And so I'll share them with you now. They are the novelizations of Jim Henson's The Labyrinth, written by A.G.H. Smith with illustrations from Brian Froud. And it says, with additional material from the Jim Henson archives. Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies ever. And so I know that this book had been out of print for a really long time. And it was going for a couple $100. And I'm sorry, I'm not paying that kind of money for this. But my mom was able to find a copy from a local Barnes & Noble that had one in stock, and so she paid cover price. Well, she didn't, because she works for Barnes & Noble. But I am super excited to eventually read this and see all of the illustrations and things. And then she also picked up The Dark Crystal. So this one is also written by A.G.H. Smith. It's A.C.H. Smith. Oh my goodness, my eyeballs. It's A.C.H. Smith with illustrations from Brian Froud. Again, with additional material from the Jim Henson's archive. And so, Dark Crystal was not one of my favorites growing up, but my daughter really enjoys The Dark Crystal. And so she decided to go ahead and pick this one up also. It is a bit thinner than Labyrinth. I'm kind of surprised about that because I feel like the Dark Crystal movie is a lot longer than Labyrinth is. But maybe that's just because Labyrinth is a favorite of mine and the Dark Crystal is not. But in any case, I'm glad to have both of these. And yeah, they were a birthday present from my mom. And so that was a lot of fun. I also finished a book at the end of September that I didn't expect to finish, which is why it wasn't in my wrap-up or in my vlog last month. So I finished Synchronized Sorcery, which is the 11th book in the Witchcraft Mystery series by Juliet Blackwell. This is a series that follows a witch named Lily Ivory who moves to San Francisco and opens up a vintage kind of clothing. It's mostly a vintage clothing store, but as the series has gone on, she's made friendships with other witches in the area, and so now they sell a variety of things. And this series usually follows not only what's going on with the store and the characters that we have grown to know and love, but Lily usually also finds herself figuring out a mystery that usually involves a dead body. And that is exactly what happened in this installment. This, like I said, is the 11th volume in this series, and I can't say any more than that without spoiling things. But there have been some revelations in regards to her family, and each of the mysteries that she investigates are always very interesting. Not a lot of this particular one had to do with like magic, I would say. But that being said, I kind of felt a little disconnected from this one because it's been so long since I read the last one. This is exactly why I don't like to read series as they're publishing, because I do get disconnected. I feel like I need to reread a bit because I could definitely feel myself being pulled out of this one every once in a while. And it didn't help that I didn't have a physical copy to read of this. I listened to this one entirely on audiobook because that's all the library had available. I have since requested that the library get a digital copy, and only because I haven't actually started collecting this series physically. I have always just borrowed a copy from the library, but since lockdown and everything that's been going on in the world, I just have not been borrowing physical books from the library, and I've been okay with that. But this particular one, I kind of feel the effects of not having that physical copy. But nonetheless, I still enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. It has to do with things that happened at the World's Fair, which is a historical event I know next to nothing about. So I found a lot of the stuff that was brought up to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I do really enjoy the series, but I feel like I'll definitely need to reread this one to get the most out of it, because I feel like I did miss some things, being that I was only able to listen on audio. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I have for an update for you right now, and I will be back with you later to check in again after I've read a bit. Hi everyone, it is Saturday, October 9th, and I am in my old recording space. So the temperatures are starting to get more manageable here. I wouldn't say it's cool, but it's more manageable, and so I decided to see if I could move my recording space back to my normal one. And so yeah, it's going okay right now. I do still have to have the fan on though, because the air doesn't move as much in this area, but I was glad to be able to film in my old filming space again. It made a few things quite a bit easier. But yeah, so since I talked to you last, I have finished 2 books. I finished Candy Coated Murder, which is the first book in the Pumpkin Hollow Mystery series by Kathleen Suzette. This was the Book One Cozies Club October selection. So I do have 2 videos, or 2 types of videos. For that selection, I have my chapter by chapter, which is my audio only reading vlog where I share my spoilery candid thoughts with you as I read them. And then I have my series first impressions video, which I've just filmed. Both of those will already be up by the time you're seeing this vlog. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on that selection, definitely check out one of those 2 videos. But this book basically follows a woman who comes back to town after 10 years of being away as a professional student, and is just kind of lost, doesn't know what to do with her life, and so she moves back home. Her parents own a candy shop, and so she's working there, but the town is kind of in disagreement about whether or not they should keep their holiday festivities going, because one of their main tourist draws is the fact that they have Halloween season. The town gets decked out for the season. They sell Halloween themed items. They draw tourists that way, and that's how a lot of the businesses there make money. But a lot of people now don't want to have those festivities anymore because they feel like it's costing the town more money than they're bringing in, just due to declining tourism and inflation and things like that. And so Mia, who's our main character, is one of those people that really wants to keep the Halloween festivities alive, especially because it's something that would affect her family's business, being that they're a candy shop. Obviously, they do Halloween-themed candies throughout the season as well, and it's a big money maker for them because it is one of those holidays. And so she not only is trying to do what she can to help to keep the Halloween festivities alive in the town, but she also is the person who finds her neighbor who didn't want to keep these Halloween festivities alive dead on her front porch. And so she is trying to figure out who had killed her, and basically figures out there are way too many people that wanted to do away with this woman. But yeah, that's pretty much what this one is about. Amateur sleuth trying to figure out a murder. Your typical cozy mystery. This one was a much shorter read for Book One Cozies Club, and for me in general, because I normally don't read books that are this length, but I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. Again, definitely check out my series first impressions video or my chapter by chapter reading vlogs if you're interested in more of my detailed thoughts on that one. So the next book I finished was The Haunted by Bentley Little, and this is a haunted house story. It follows a family who decides that their town where they were living is just not where they want to be anymore. The town has just kind of gotten really bad. Their son is having problems at school because due to some district line changes, he ended up having to go to a different school, and so he has no friends, he's getting picked on, and so they decide to pick up and move. The daughter is not a big fan of this, but obviously she has no choice. They end up getting this really great house, only to find out that it's haunted. So I enjoyed this one. It definitely had a sufficient amount of creep factor for me, which is something I really look for in haunted house books and more scary books in general. A lot of times, books that I decide to read for that particularly don't meet the mark, but this one definitely did. I will tell you that I do a majority of my reading at night, and you know, the house will creak at night when you're reading alone in your room, and kind of freaked me out a little bit. This one did not creep me out enough where I couldn't sleep at night, but yeah, there were definite times while I was reading where something would go bump in the night, or there'd be a creak, or I'd hear something outside my window and a little chill would go up my spine. But there were a lot of things that I didn't enjoy about this one as well, including the numerous sex scenes that were in here. There are lots of things to be aware of, including mentions of rape, child murder, child loss, mass murder, cutting, suicide, just to name a few. And so I will be giving this one a 3.5 stars. Don't think this would be one that I reread. Definitely couldn't see where the story was gonna go and how it resolved itself. I thought it was very interesting though, and I would definitely be interested in still trying out another one of Bentley Little's books, because he does have several. I was just, the sex scenes, like, I don't know why they were in there. They did nothing for the story. There is only one instance that I could think of that would be a reason for a sex scene to be in this book, but even then it's just like that really didn't play out if that was the case to have that in this book. So yeah, 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it while I read it, but there were definite things I didn't enjoy. So that's pretty much all I've read since I talked to you last night. I did start Paradise Club by Tim Meyer. I'm about 21 pages in, borrowed this one off of Kindle Unlimited, and right now I'm just at the point where they have just gotten to the island. So nothing's really happened yet besides the fact that we now know that his daughter is a royal bee. Oh my goodness. We met his daughter and she just talked back to him like nobody's business. And I'm just like, what? She's apparently 17 years old and she was like surrounded by a bunch of these older guys and just trying to like show off. I don't know what she was doing, but she was talking back to her dad, and her dad's an FBI agent, and these guys were giving him lip too about what you gonna do about it, dude. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So yeah, definitely not enjoying the daughter so much right now. In fact, she made a comment about the fact that not everybody is like the monsters that he pursues to her dad, because her dad is an FBI agent. And I believe she's going to quickly backtrack that statement, because from what I gather, the story is about the fact that on this idyllic vacation spot, there are a bunch of serial killers and mass murderers, and they decide to wipe out all of the vacationers. And so I think she's going to get a taste of what her dad does firsthand and backtrack what she said to him. Maybe she'll even change her tune, but I'm really not liking his daughter right now. And I don't like the fact that her mother didn't do anything about it. In fact, she was just like, you know, your dad is your dad, you know, you just let it go and it's okay. And I'm just like, no, like what the heck? Yeah, anyway. Obviously, the book got me worked up to a point where I'm just like, now I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. And yeah, I wouldn't say I enjoyed what I read, but it definitely was something that kept me reading just to see, you know, what's going to happen when they get to the island. Something interesting did happen now that they're off the boat right now, which I think is definitely going to put a hamper in things to come. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes, but that's pretty much all I've read since I talked to you last. Yeah, we haven't watched any other Halloween movies. We've just been catching up on our fall TV shows. I am wearing my Beware of Hitchhiking Ghosts shirt, which is a favorite kind of Halloween saying of mine, if you will. And yeah, just finished filming my 24-hour haunted manga readathon TBR, and I did my, like I said, series first impressions video for the Book on Cozy's Club book. So I've got quite a bit of editing to do today, and that's pretty much it. Daughter's doing homework. Oh, we bought Tetris Effect last night for the Switch. So daughter and I were up till 4 o'clock this morning playing Tetris Effect together, which was fun. But yeah, temperatures are coming down, which I'm really enjoying. There's nothing much else really going on at the moment. Next weekend is the Haunted 24-hour manga readathon, so we'll be doing a lot of manga reading then. And then the Thursday after that is our manga club meeting. So yeah, this month seems to be going by a lot quicker. At least for me, it's feeling that quick. I don't know if it's just because I've got, you know, a lot of editing and videoing and the readathon coming out to do, but yeah, not much else to say for this check-in. Oh, I did do my nails before the last time I talked to you. These are the Color Street nail strips. So I've already had them on for a week, and I just didn't mention it, but they're little jack-o'-lanterns. And so, yeah, I will probably need to change these out next week, maybe. But so far, I'm very happy to report that I do not have any cracks in my nails, which is great, because that is why I do the dip polish. But since I had these Halloween nail strips, I decided I wanted to use them, and so I've been very careful with my nails, and so far so good. So did that, and that's pretty much it. So I will check in with you a bit later. Hi everyone, it is Wednesday, October 20th. I had to go into the office today to take care of something for a client, and so I decided to do a little bit of filming today. I normally don't film during the week. I normally film on the weekends, but last weekend was the haunted 24-hour manga readathon, and so I did a lot of reading. In fact, one of the videos that I filmed today was my wrap-up for that readathon. I ended up reading 24 volumes of manga and reading for 20 hours total. So I'm going to call that a win. I did discover that I am just not programmed to sit down and read all day. I have only done that a couple times in my life, and they were for the Harry Potter books, to be honest. When I first moved to the mainland, for those of you who might just be watching me for the first time, I grew up in Hawaii. I lived there for a majority of my life, I can still say. And so when we moved to the mainland, I just had a hard time finding a job. Nobody wanted to hire me because they said I was overqualified, which that's the dumbest dumbest excuse for not hiring somebody. I'm sorry, but yeah, I had a hard time finding a job, and my daughter was still very young. She wasn't in school yet, and so I spent my days pretty much just playing with her and not doing much but reading. And so there was one day where I read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire from cover to cover in 24 hours. And so that's really, the only time I've ever really sat down and read all day. And it's basically because back then I didn't know how to knit. There weren't a lot of TV shows I was into. Like I said, my daughter was very young, so it's not like now where I can have a conversation with her, or we can play games together, we can, watch series together, watch TV together, watch movies together. We can read together and talk about the things that we're reading. Yeah, there was none of that. So I think I had more patience back then too, because obviously I was younger. I didn't have a lot of things that I was interested in back then. Not like now. Like, all weekend I kept looking at my knitting bags while I was reading, and I really, really wanted to knit because there's a top that I'm working on that I really want to get finished by the end of the month, and I couldn't touch my knitting all weekend, and that literally killed me. Like, ugh. So yeah, I think 20 hours in 4 days of reading is a lot. 24 volumes is a lot. But I'm going to say I was successful because I had a goal of reading at least 24 volumes, and I was able to do that. So yeah, if you're interested in seeing what I read for that, definitely check out my Haunted 24-hour manga readathon wrap up, because that video is already up on my channel. But yeah, the other thing that I filmed today was my Monochrome Manga Club series first impressions video, because 2 of those volumes that I read for the Haunted readathon were for the manga club meeting that will be tomorrow. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to the members about those 2 volumes, which I actually have here. So let me just show you. So it's Servant Volume 1 by Strike Tonica. And I'll just let you know that I did rate this one 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. But I am familiar with the story that is in here because I have watched the anime adaptation. We do have all of the volumes that are currently available in English in our collection. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing this one and seeing what goes beyond the anime, because I did enjoy the anime and I really enjoyed this volume. And then the other volume is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun Volume 1 by Ida Ito. This one I ended up giving 3 stars. I'm starting to think maybe I should have stuck with my gut when it told me, yeah, you'd not be interested in this series, but I got talked into it by hearing somebody talk so favorably about it, how much she enjoyed it. And yeah, this one's going to be on a volume by volume assessment, because I'm willing to give it 1 or 2 more volumes to pull me in, but there were a couple things in here that made me uncomfortable. But yeah, definitely check out my Monochrome Manga Club series first impressions video for more of my thoughts on that. Besides that, what have I finished since I talked to you last? I haven't finished anything but the 24 volumes of manga. I am currently reading Paradise Club by Tim Meyer. I am 82% done with that one. I'm hoping to finish that one up this week, if not before the weekend. It's very slashery, which is what I was expecting, but something happened in the last few chapters. I'd say it's probably going to encompass the rest of the book, so the last 25%. Something was brought up in this ending part that I was like, wait, what? It kind of throws everything into a different dimension for me, and not in a good way. So I'm curious to see how things are going to play out from where I am to the ending. But up into where that little twist was, little, big twist, it was a twist nonetheless. Up until then, it was definitely everything I expected. It was a lot of blood and gore, lots of killers, people fearing for their lives. There was a death that happened just within the last few chapters again that I was very surprised with. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everything plays out and how this story finishes. I'm also interested in seeing some of the author's other work, because I went through some of his backlist, and he has written a book about a megalodon, and he's written a book about dinosaurs. So I'm super intrigued to check those out as well. I am reading Paradise Club through Kindle Unlimited, and so far, up until the twist anyway, I was really enjoying it. Now I'm just like, wait, what? So there's that. I did start My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I needed an audiobook one day, and so I was looking through the Audible Plus catalog because I never ever use that. And so I thought, I'm paying for the subscription. Like, I get my monthly credit and I use that, but I don't ever use the extra perk of the Audible Plus catalog. So decided to take a look to see what they had available. Since I found The Haunting by Bentley Little there, I thought, well, maybe they've got some other cool things for the season available. And so My Best Friend's Exorcism came up. It's a book that I've heard a lot of people talking about recently. It's a book I've heard a lot of people talk about for a while. And so I thought, let me check it out. So I'm about 50% into that book right now. And I would say the first maybe 25%, I really, really enjoyed what was going on. But in the last 25%, it's gotten very, religious. And I should have been prepared for that because obviously exorcisms only happen in religious situations. But we're not at the exorcism yet. We're just getting a lot of ultra-religious parents and their ultra-religious views and, not listening to what their kids are saying or, corporal punishment. Like, there's this one set of parents in this story. They're super religious, and there are scenes where it says the dad slapped her so hard she fell backwards, or things like that. And the mother dragged her friend out of the house with such force that she left bruises on this girl's arm. And I'm just like, and they're ultra religious, but there can nothing that this girl is saying that trying to explain why their daughter is acting the way she is. No, none of that could happen. It's you. You're the bad influence on our daughter. Everything that's going wrong with her is your fault. And it's like, with everything that has been happening in this book that's connected with her daughter, how do you explain some of that? Because some of it is otherworldly. How do you explain that in, real life? So, yeah. They're very closed-minded about the stuff that's going on. They don't want to see it. And yet they're so religious. And I dislike when things are portrayed that way. I don't read a lot of stories that have heavy religious undertones, because I find a lot of things that I don't agree with, and that is what's happened right now in this book. And so I am not enjoying that one at the moment. It's probably not the first Grady Hendrix book I should have read. In fact, at this point, I'm thinking I probably should have skipped it. But I'm super curious to see how they finally get that exorcism done. What leads them to getting the exorcism done? And also, what the first line in this book? Why did that happen? Does it have something to do with the exorcism? So, yeah. I'm very curious about it, but I'm not enjoying what's going on. So, 50% with that, 82% with Paradise Club. And then I'm also reading Hell House by, I can't even remember. Let me go get it. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. It is Hell House by Richard Matheson. So I am here right now. It is page 111, and this is a haunted house story. It follows a group of people going into the Belasco house, and they're trying to investigate it. So it's very much one of those storylines that I really, really enjoy and look for. I'm a big fan of the Stephen King miniseries Rose Red and the movie The Haunting, and in both of those there is a group of people that go into a haunted house and are like doing like experiments or trying to research it or things like that. And so I really want to read more books that are like that, but I'm having a hard time finding them. But this one seems to be checking that box very well. So right now where I'm at, they're in the house already. They've done a couple of like seances and some spirits have shown themselves, and I'm just really, really enjoying this. And we're learning about the owner of the house at the moment and what could have possibly happened to have made this house the way it is. And yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. This is kind of the feeling that I wanted to get from The Supernaturals by David L. Goleman. I read that last year, around this time. And that one, again, follows a group of people who go into this house and are doing research, trying to like research the haunting of it. And that one moved really slow for me. A lot of that book was meeting all of the people and learning about their backgrounds and their abilities, and not enough of it was about being in the house and the experiments they were doing and contacts that were being made and things like that, which is what I really enjoy about stories like that, is the hands-on like communications with the spirits and the seances and the supernatural occurrences and happenings that happen to the people that are inside this house. Another one that I enjoyed is I think it's called The Graveyard Book by Michelle Muto. I had found that one on Kindle Unlimited, and that one gave me chills up my spine. That one also is a house that is haunted, and they bring in these teenagers who I can't remember. I think they have insomnia or trouble with something. I read it quite a while ago, but that's another one that I really enjoyed. So I definitely like this premise where you have people going into a known haunted building and trying to communicate with the things that are haunting it. So if you have any recommendations for books that are like that, definitely let me know down in the comments below, because I'm looking for a lot more, because that is something I definitely enjoy reading about. But yeah, so far I'm really, really enjoying this. It is kind of historical because, like, here at the top here, we've got dates. And there's not so much chapters, but time marks during the day. And so this one, it's in 1970 right now. And so, yeah, even though it's historical, I'm still enjoying it. There are a couple things that are bothering me about it, with the fact that there seems to be some like sexual comments. I don't know how to explain it, but there's definitely like a sexual undertone to some of the scenes in here. There hasn't been any sexual scenes, but there's some undertones, and talk about like breasts, and one of the ghosts is trying to like touch one of the women that are in this house in a like sexual way. And yeah, so I'm not enjoying that too much, especially. And again, I think this has to do with the fact that it's in there because a man is writing it, and it has no real bearing on the story yet. I think we might be getting some explanation as to why some of those things are happening right now, with the history of the house, but I'm not enjoying those parts. I am enjoying the investigation though. Lots of interesting things are happening and really, really enjoying this. So I'm hoping to finish these 3 books, Paradise Club, My Best Friend's Exorcism, and Hell House, this weekend, so that next week, which is the last week of October, I can get to some other books. But so far this month has been very good as far as reading. I read a lot. I have my bingo board here, but I haven't really like filled it out. Oh, I did read a couple other things. So here is what I have on my bingo board so far. It doesn't look like much because I haven't put all of the manga on it that I read for the Haunted 24-Hour Manga Readathon. But I also read Scary Stories You Can Tell in the Dark, or Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and the third one, Scary Stories 3. I'll put a picture here. I actually have never read these books before. We've had them for a long time. I think we might have even had them since I was a kid. At least these 2. I don't have the third one. I listened to all 3 of them on audio through Hoopla. And when you listen to the audio, because it's a compilation, they don't go by first book, second book, third book. It's like redone. I guess in a way to make all the stories more fluid. But I really enjoyed listening to it, and I would definitely recommend listening as opposed to reading, because the feel was a lot different from me reading this, especially because obviously I'm not the target audience for this type of book. But there is one story in this one that's called The Viper. That was my favorite. And if you listen to it, the impact of that story is so much better than if you read it, because the illustration that is on the page for The Viper gives away the story. And so you'll be spoiled if you actually read the text. But I really, really enjoyed this. And so that is what I have read since I talked to you last. So that pretty much does it. Haven't really done anything else lately besides do that manga readathon. And yeah. So I guess that's pretty much my check-in for this week. Tomorrow we will have the manga club meeting, and so maybe I'll take you along then. And yeah, I'm hoping to get a lot more reading done, and got a lot of filming to do this weekend, including my TBR video. So yeah, I will check in with you again later, and I hope you're having a good one.